Welcome everyone to the Fibre Co's celebration launch for autumn-winter 24-25. I'm Daphne Marinopoulos. I'm with the Fibre Co, and I'm here with my colleague, Becky Baker, who is our design manager. Hi, Becky.
Hiya.
So we're here today to go through our autumn-winter present collection to show you what that's all about. And in addition to that, we're going to begin, though, by digging into the design development process a little bit, because often we come on these webinars every season and we just kind of show and tell and show and tell and show and tell. But we get a lot of questions about, well, what was involved in bringing this to life, and some behind the scenes kinds of things. Now, we don't have pictures of ourselves knitting away. It's not that sort of thing, but we thought we would tell you a little bit about the process, like how far in advance we start. We have some images of sketches that come in for design ideas and that sort of thing. So we're going to do that first without diving into the details of each design. And then we will go into all the designs. We'll show you the new designs, and then we'll have a special feature or focus on the design that's called the One Yoke. And that is something that maybe some of you have been seeing because we've been talking about it a lot on our social channels and in emails, but we're going to dive deeply into that. And Becky's the designer of the One Yoke Sweater, so we're excited to have a look at that process. And then we're going to look at some new yarn shades, and I will get all the questions answered near the end. So, and hopefully you can stay to the end, because after we talk about the One Yoke, there's just going to be a little offer that we have for all the participants, and it's exclusive to the webinar. So stay tuned for that. All right, well, let's take a look at this now. What is this design development process all about? We start, Becky, don't we, about a year in advance, and you and I usually get on a call and we say, what do we need? What do we want to do for autumn winter? And we have a very rigid schedule that we follow. We call it our design critical path, and there's a date by which we have to have that first meeting to give us enough time to do it all. And yeah, from there, what are some of the initial things that we talk about, Becky? Where do we
Daphne, I
go?
don't think the full view is up for the knitters, maybe. I think maybe because I can see just like a little view of the screenshot. I don't know this presentation.
Oh,
because I can see a smaller version, so it's like full screen.
oh, hold on. I will stop my share and try again.
No worries. Just so everybody can see everything in close up, better detail.
Let's see. How about this?
Yes, that's us. There we go.
Okay, sorry guys.
There we go. That's it. Yeah, just so everybody can get a really good view.
Oh goodness.
It was
all
a
right.
little
I
bit
didn't
smaller
realize that.
So yes, right. So to get back to the design development that Daphne said, it can be a year and a half before we release the beautiful designs to the world. And we would initially start, myself and Daphne would have a meeting and we would discuss trends and knitting techniques that we've seen, or, you know, silhouettes that are more popular. And then we would talk about what we feel our range needs, what we've maybe not got, what we would like to envision in our yarns, and then also which yarns we'd like to include for that season. And from there on, once we've had a big chat and we've came up with lots of different ideas, we'd then reach out to designers and they would work on some submissions for us. And then Daphne and myself have the really hard job of going through all the beautiful designs, because there's only so many that we can work with. So that's, that was a very simplified version of it, but that takes a long time, and that takes a lot of work to do that. So this little mood board that you can see is sort of a little snapshot of early design development by, you know, sketches. Some designers usually give us illustrations on a form, or a little flat illustration of their sweater, and then swatches as well. And then for myself, with being the in-house designer, if myself and Daphne have discussed it at length, I won't always do a sketch or an illustration, I'll just go to, as I call it, designing on the needles, and I'll just start some swatches as I'm actually knitting. Don't do that all the time. Sometimes I do sketch, but if I know exactly what we want, then I just like to do it with the yarn. And then if I'm doing stripe repeats, like you can see on the right hand side, I had knitted a little bit, took a photograph and then dropped it into Illustrator where I could cut and paste and mock up the stripe repeats. And it's a bit of a cheap way instead of knitting lots of swatches. But if you're trying different ideas, it can just visualize the colours and the layer. Stripes quite good.
Yeah, I would say that
So
there
that was our band for scarf. I forgot to say that.
there probably are as
I'll
many
finish.
different there probably are as many different ways as there are designers to, approach the work. But for the most part, it involves some kind of idea that we want to see materialized in our yarns, and then we'll get a variety of sketches and swatches. And as you said, Becky, you like to do it right on the needles and get going with it. And so all of that results in what we have here. And then the next hard thing is we have to choose a palette. And we're not necessarily trying to have everything be matched in the collection, but we do have to make some color selections, and there's a lot of criteria. We have to keep in mind any new colors that we might have in yarns that we are introducing in the season, or maybe in the last season, to try and get them into a design in the new season. And what else are we looking at, Becky, when we're dealing with the palette?
Oh, for the colors. So yeah, just keeping in mind what the design is and what color would be suitable for that design. Like if it's a lace work design, it would be better suited for photography reasons not to be in a really dark shade, because it's difficult to capture all the intricate details of the stitch work if the yarn's darker. So we need to keep things like that in mind. And if it's going to be color work, we need to keep in mind of, we maybe want little pops or accent colors to be. So you've got to consider all of that from early on.
Yeah, it's a real we want to do all the colors, don't we, sometimes? But
it's hard. It's very hard to narrow it down.
But we really can't, can we? But we try. It's hard to narrow it down. Okay, so then the last thing we do is we look across the yarns and we say, right, are we covering enough of our yarns? And sometimes when there is a new yarn, then the development for the new designs can start, thinking about those at least 2 years prior. This season, we didn't have any new yarns, but we decided on these 8 yarns that you can see here for designs, and there are 17 designs. So this is what we ended up with. That whole planning process took us to these designs that you can see on your screen now, and it's time for us to dive into them. So one of them, across the bottom, you can see the yarns that we looked at, and some of the yarns have more than one design because we wanted a specific capsule collection, and others have just one design for the season for reasons that we were going for just that one look for this season because we felt like we needed this shawl or that sweater, or whatever the case may be. And then I think probably the best thing to do now is just start with the one on the left, which is the Road to China capsule collection. And let's take it from there. So Road to China is a yarn that, if you know our yarns, it's probably the most luxurious in our range. It's a blend of camel and cashmere and silk and baby alpaca. And it's been in the range for a very long time. It's a yarn that I used to make in the mill myself. So back in the day when we had our mill and used to mill and hand dye our own yarns, but now it's made by some partner mills, and it's our most luxurious yarn. And we wanted to have a little capsule collection, 3-piece collection. And there's a designer that Becky and I thought of right away when we thought to do this, who is just in love with Road to China. And we said, why not reach out to Kay Hopkins? And she's done this lovely 3-series design, and starting with the Pacific Crest Trail cardigan. And so this particular design or this capsule collection is using a cable throughout on each of the three pieces. This one here is the cardigan that uses 7 to 14 hanks of Road to China Light. It's shown here in the shade Appetite. And it's a real luxurious piece to wear, isn't it, Becky? I mean, when you have this garment in your hands and or on your body, it just feels fantastic.
Yeah.
And then there was a shawl that came, and you can see the same cable stitch. This shawl, it comes in 2 sizes. You can make the one shown here with 7 hanks, or you can make a smaller version of this in 5 hanks. Then the last design in the capsule collection of the Pacific Crest Trail collection is the hat. And you can see that same lovely little swiggly cable. And this hat is 2 hanks of Road to China Light. Road to China Light comes in 50-gram hanks.
It's so beautiful how that one little cable ties them all together. They look so unique.
Yeah,
but then they also fit well together. It's such a beautiful design.
Yeah, it really is. It's really nice, and it stands out on the Road to China Light. I mean, some patterns would show better on Road to China Light than others, and I think when it's a nice bold cable like this one here, it shows really, really well. And there is a slight halo that comes on the Road to China Light fabric. So if you were doing, quick repeats of, pearl bumps and stocking stitches, sometimes those kinds of very busy textured stitches don't stand out or aren't as well defined as something like you see here, where it's a very obvious cable and standing apart on the reverse stocking stitch. So yeah, so that's the Pacific Crest Trail little capsule collection in Road to China Light. Next up is the cherry bark. Becky, tell us about the cherry bark. What happened here? How did we get here? This one was a funny one, wasn't it?
Yes, so we had a cherry bark vest in our first almanac season, I think, first one.
Yes.
And so we wanted to create a cherry bark sweater. But it was important to get the right sleeve style that, went with the overall silhouette and had the best fit. So like we've noticed a surge in recent years for drop shoulder designs, but that wasn't going to work so well with this one. So I revisited the classic set-in sleeve. So that, I was telling this to Daphne the other day, that was not as straightforward as you think it might look, that you just pick up stitches and knit down. Because it's a set-in sleeve, then you need to have a bit of a sleeve cap at the top. So, and I hadn't designed a set-in sleeve for a long time because I had been in the drop shoulder gang and I'd been doing lots of drop shoulders, so I did have to get the books out and remind myself of what am I doing here. So you've always got to be learning, haven't you? And keep your mind going whenever you don't use something for a while. So to get the sleeve on this one, you're picking your stitches up in the round, joining to work in the round. The specific stitch pickup ratio is given in the pattern, and a placement on where to put your markers. And then you work between the markers using short rows, and you just work back and forward between the markers until you get the desired, the desired shape of your sleeve head. Then once you've got that, you go back to knitting in the round down towards the cuffs, working your decreases to shape your sleeve. So I think it's turned out beautiful. I think the sleeves look like they've always meant to be there. I think, the classic set-in sleeve was the right choice. I don't think the drop shoulder would have worked as well for this design. So I love it with the sleeves. And we included the beautiful little cable rib that is on the body, the hem of the body. That's also on the sleeve cuffs as well. So it just all marries together really nicely.
Yeah, here you can see the vest here. So you can see that it kind of had a shoulder. If you were just going to knit down from there, it wouldn't have worked the way the sleeves, the way the vest armhole was.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're always trying to be careful because we think about, you know, what's popular among knitters, and set-in sleeves generally aren't that popular these days. And oftentimes it's because they're made flat, and then, you know, you have to make the shape of the sleeve, and then you have to sew it in. And there was a day when everybody knew how to sew, and that was not a big deal at all. But today it's really not that everybody knows how to sew. And so I think that's why the popularity of, you know, certain types of garments and structures and the way we knit them come into play, because it's just much more fun and easier than sitting down and sewing, and especially if sewing is not your thing. But what's great about this one is that it is just with knitting that you can create that set-in sleeve using the short rows on that sleeve cap. So it works out really well, and I think it turned out fantastic, Becky. I really do. So that's the cherry bark sweater. It's in our Erin More Light yarn. And Erin More Light is a blend of merino and cashmere and silk. It's a very traditional Donegal tweed spun in Ireland. And, you know, some of the colors will have as many as 8 different shades of fiber that's dyed first before you spin it into yarn. So it's a really lovely palette. So if you're not familiar with the yarn, I encourage you to check it out, because it's one that usually inspires people to get knitting. Okay, next up is the Curious Shawl. We wanted a very simple, well, I shouldn't say simple, but we wanted a very accessible 2-hank shawl in our Cumbria fingering yarn. A lot of people like Cumbria fingering. It comes in 100-gram hanks. And to get a nice accessory using just 2 hanks, so that it's at a, you know, more affordable price, but something really stunning too. So it had to be something that would have a really striking pattern in 2 colors. And we went to designer Hannah Matchuska, and she certainly delivered this for us, didn't she, Becky? We were really excited when we saw this.
Yeah, the stitch work, I love it. And the fact that it's so nice on both sides of the fabric as well.
Yeah, and it's a lovely mosaic stitch. And we have the picture, the large version here is one side of the fabric. It's a little more subtle, and the other side of that mosaic pattern is equally nice. And we have a quote from Hannah about this, and she said, "When I decided to create a mosaic shawl, I knew I needed the perfect yarn in 2 contrasting colors, and mosaic knitting involves using slip stitches to create intricate patterns. So it's important to choose yarn not only in colors that have a strong contrast for maximum visual impact, but also yarn with good stitch definition." So thank you, Hannah. We couldn't have said it better ourselves. So, and it really does have a great stitch definition. And Hannah also mentioned just how striking the color palette of Cumbria fingering is just across the board. So you can take almost 2 shades. If you put all your dark shades in one pile and all your lighter shades in another, you could probably pick 2 blindfold and open your eyes, and you'd find a pairing that would work together. Well, I don't know, but it's I might be a bit biased. Okay, that was the Curious Shawl. Next up is another capsule collection, isn't it? This time in our Tundra yarn. And it's the pelagic collection in Tundra. Tundra is our bulky yarn that is in our luxury range. Baby alpaca and silk and merino is the blend. And this one is an interesting one, Becky, because talk about design process. Remember what we said, we wanted a little collection of accessories in Tundra. And then we went to kind of the archives and said, what do we have? What have we done in Tundra in the past that maybe we could build on?
Yeah.
And what we came up with was, here you can see this lovely cowl and that pattern. But what it is built on is this pattern that was in a Tundra cardigan that came out last year called the Pelagic Cardigan. And this is from designer Marina Skua. So how did that go, Becky? You reached out to Marina and said, hey, we have an idea.
Yes, basically that we loved how well that worked in Tundra and the cardigan, and just felt that there was so much more life that could be translated into different sizes, like the cowl, the scarf, and there's another on, it's coming up,
Yeah, here's the
and a little
scarf.
headband as well. So reached out to Marina, and she said yes, that she would love to continue that little capsule collection. And I think the sizing of the pattern was able to stay the same on the cowl and the scarf, but then it had repeat just got changed a little for the headband because it's smaller.
Yeah, that the
So
headband, of course, required a slightly narrower look.
narrower repeat.
But I
Yeah,
think she did a good job because I can still see the nod to the original design pattern.
yeah. But they stand on their own as well.
They
So
do.
it
Yeah,
works great.
they do indeed. Yeah, so that's the little tundra capsule, accessory capsule that we came up with this season. And then next up is, if, I mean, joy springs to mind, doesn't it, with this
Yeah.
one? I mean, we didn't start out by saying we want a joyful sweater, but we love the way our model here, Shisanga, interpreted wearing this. She loved wearing it so much that she just was dancing in it. She just kept going,
It
oh,
looks like it's made for her. It looks like
oh,
it's been designed and made for her. She just wears it so well.
she does. The Brizo pullover is in our Cumbria yarn. That's a worsted weight yarn. It's a blend of merino wool, massum wool, and a little bit of mohair. And so the Brizo pullover, Becky, this one's quite interesting because I think I said, hey, how about a Gansey style sweater, but like a modern version of it, not, something very typical, because people aren't really wearing close form fitting hand knits these days, or even, not hand knits, but store-bought knits. There is this boxiness, there's this looseness, there's the tight fitting traditional Gansey sweater to keep the fishermen warm is not where it's at in fashion today.
It's not slightly cropped or slightly boxy.
Yeah. And also the drop shoulder, we were trying to maybe see something other than that as well. But we said, what could feel like it was inspired by that? And the designer here is Jill Thompson Beach. We've worked with Jill quite a bit. And she has a lovely quote here that I want to tell you about. So she goes, it's inspired by vintage fisherman style sweaters, and I wanted it to feel like it was an instant classic in your collection and something that works for many occasions. And then the naming of it is in honor of the Greek goddess Brizo that protected mariners, sailors, and fishermen. So, I mean, she even got the design spot on, and then she got the name spot on too.
I know. I couldn't think of a better name for it. It just ties in so well.
Yeah, I think so too, that you can really see all of the elements of the designs. And I think one of the most interesting things on this, if you're one of those people who says, oh, I get lost in all those textured stitches, especially when it's, top down in the round, and I've got something going on in the front, something going on in the sleeve, something on the back, and all of my increases and blah, blah, blah. How do you do it all? Well, this pattern has a really interesting appendix. Becky, do you want to tell us about this?
Yes. So yeah, just to add on what Daphne said, technically, like a lot of technical work went into this design to grade those different patterns, the shape over all 9 sizes. So the designer, Jill, and our tech editor, Joe, worked on getting this little appendix all put together, and there's a separate sheet for every size. And you can keep track of all your increases for each section. So your neck, your front neck increases, your front body, your sleeves, and you can tick it off as you're going along, and you've got your stitch count there as well. So hopefully that's a really handy little aid. So if anybody feels that, oh, I'm not good at keeping track, then this should be your little guide, your little partner right beside you as you're knitting.
When I first saw this, I thought, I think I'd like one of these, like just blank. And anytime I do something, I mean, even a stockinette stitch, top down in the round thing, just to keep track of your increases is not a bad idea on a row by row basis. I thought we should print these blank and
And then
Just
fill them in. Well, sometimes when you're doing it loose on a bit of paper, the second night you go back to it, that note doesn't mean any sense. But if you were writing
exactly.
very methodically in a nice row,
You're
it
just like,
would
what did
be
I write
nicer
down
to keep
here?
track of.
And then you're going back and you're counting and oh dear. So that's yeah, so I hope that entices some people who aren't maybe fans of keeping track of stitches, because you don't have to really. So the appendix does it for you. All right, so that's the Brizo in Cumbria. And then next up we have a little capsule collection. Different names. They're not really all, there's not like a design element across it, but there are some designs in our and make Aran yarn that we feel have a connection. The first one up is the tilted terrain hat. And this one is designed by Jill as well. And we wanted something, a little bit more than just another beanie or another hat with cables and a rim. And so we asked her specifically to design something that had some asymmetrical aspect to the brim. And this is what Jill came up with, which I think turned out really well. Jill told us that when she started designing this in and make Aran, she knew that the yarn was just perfect, and it has a great texture and feel with the wool and alpaca. It's a 50-50 blend of Highland wool that comes from Peru and alpaca. And it's a yarn, she says, that would work great with so many types of designs, from something highly textured to simple stockinette. And this soft blend makes for an especially cozy and warm hat. I just sent four balls of and make to a really good friend of mine in Maine, because I asked her what she wanted, and she says, "Oh," she goes, "I really like that and make for hats." So I said, "All right, not only this, but I have the perfect new pattern for you." And Jill also said that as she was drafting ideas for the hat, she tried to let the yarn shine as much as it could with its simple texture and asymmetrical deep brim. So yeah, thank you, Jill. I think I really like this one. And of course, we were all trying it on here. And our model, Shisanga, had her fiance with her that day, and he was behind the scenes, and we're like, we have two of these. Would you want to join us? And we were so glad that he was game for it, because we got this lovely snap of the two.
That's great. And the asymmetric brim on it just gives it that little
It does.
that little fun, a little bit different. And you
Yeah.
can experiment with short rows as well in a small
Yeah, in
space.
a
If you've
small
not
thing.
done a lot of
That's
short
right.
rows, then you can experiment with that in the hat.
Yeah. And then next up, Becky, is the bandwidth scarf. We had talked about having a vertical stripe scarf for a long time, and we had, this was also an and make Aran, and multicolored, but we had some reservations about it for a couple of things. What were those, Becky? Why did we kind of
Yeah,
initially
we really wanted the vertical stripes, didn't we? And so one way to do that would be intarsia, but we thought, no, we want like a really, really beginner friendly pattern. So how else could we do it if we weren't going to do intarsia? Because it would be a lot of balls to keep track of. And then I thought, well, you could just cast on loads of stitches, but then that would be way too much to have the length of a scarf. You'd be knitting a row for very long. So then we said, right, okay, we could have 3 larger panels, so that you're not casting on lots of stitches, but you're casting on a good amount, a good size, and knitting, and then join your panels together. So that's how it came alive. So the knitting direction is, it's going up the way, but then when you're turning it, you're getting your vertical stripes. So that was a sort of clever way of being able to do that. And the way it's modeled just now, they're going they're going the other way, but you get the best of both with it. If you've got it wrapped round, you get the horizontal, and then if you've got it long, then you've got the vertical stripes.
the
So
vertical. Yeah. Yeah, and although we didn't show any of the pictures of it hanging down low, we have plenty over on the website. Go have a look if you want to see it. It is a very traditional length long scarf, and it's quite an effective look when it's hanging down low as either on either side as well.
yeah. You can
All
have
right.
fun
And then,
colors and stripes.
yes, and we continued on with stripes, didn't we, with the next one?
Yeah.
This is called the Vest Flex, and the Vest Flex was, I mean, vests have had a moment now in fashion for a couple of years, haven't they? Knitted vests, and
Yeah.
but we weren't ready to stop. We've had some over the last couple of years ourselves. We wanted to do it again, and we started with the striped version, didn't we? That was our first idea.
Mhm.
Um, Now we went to designer
Sylvia.
Sylvia, that's right, Sylvia.
Sylvia Watts Cherry.
Yes, what Sylvia Watts Cherry, and she was really game to do it, wasn't she? And we kind of told her, you know, what we were looking for in a vest, and quite a modern cut, and nothing too baggy, but
Yeah, with a nice shaped, deeper sort of armhole.
yeah, did the deeper armholes and kind of what we've all been seeing out there. And then we didn't want to just stop at one idea for stripes. We wanted to have a couple more versions. So we we saw this stripe, we said, you know, it's really lovely, but would it also be nice and a solid? Yes, it would.
Yeah.
And what if we wanted to do a little bit more with color? Could we do something more with color? Yes, we could. So we came up with this idea of using a different color on each of the rib sections.
Yeah.
Now that ends up using a bit of yarn. So we went ahead and did the calculations that if you just wanted to use one additional color, on the rib sections instead of the 4 that you see here, you would use between 5 and 9 balls of make Aran in total, as opposed to 7 to 10 if you were going to do the 4 colors. So we wanted to make an accessible version, and that's where we ended up there. I think we have one more capsule collection, don't we, Becky, before we jump into our One Yoke?
Yep.
And this one is the Chunky Comfort Collection. And the Chunky Comfort Collection really came up because we were working with a designer, Julia DeCini, on another project. And we saw that she had some lovely homeware in her portfolio, didn't she?
Yeah.
And we had wanted to have some cozy things in our super bulky yarn for the season. So we said, what could those cozy things be and who could do it? We remembered Julia's portfolio, that she had a lot of really nice homeware. And we even got Julia to do the photography on this, didn't we? Because she's a fantastic photographer as well. So the first one up, these lovely chunky comfort hearth socks. I know a couple of our stockists are doing knit-alongs for this, because they're kind of the perfect either gift or for yourself. And if you want to learn, you know, a basic structure of a sock, it's not a bad way to do it, but have it be something really special too, with this cable. And the keeper bag here is a really nice bag as well. And you can see a lot more cabling and seed stitch and on that. And the other one in
drawstring closure as well. It's just really cute.
That's right, the trivets. And then lastly in this collection is a little hot water hug. So this is the Chunky Comfort Collection, all really super easy but fun projects, because there's the interest for the texture, right? So they're not absolute beginners for sure, but they are easy for, you know, an experienced knitter, and they would be fun to make too.
And our and make patterns have got a lot of like helpful links in them. We've got a lot of tutorials. We sort of walk the knitters through that. So if you're new to doing the cabling or in the round, or you know, the patterns will sort of, there's a lot more information in there to help you through it.
Definitely is. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
It's that perfect time of year, isn't it? The autumn pumpkin spice. That's what I was saying earlier. So that collection has that vibe.
It totally is. All right, now we are here with our One Yoke. This was the one we really wanted to dive in and spend a lot of time in, because what the One Yoke is from the Fibre Co's One series. Now, what's the One series? We're going to show you some more from the One series in just a bit. But overall, the One series, the idea was that we would have different types of patterns, styles, silhouettes, and it would be they would serve as blueprints for, you know, if you're going to do a top-down sweater, raglan sweater, This is the basic structure, and you could use that to adjust it, make something your own, add a specific stitch. We went from an original one to a textured one to then we had a one sock, and we're going to show you some images of all that in just a moment. But it was time to have a one yoke, and Becky has been very instrumental in the one series from the beginning. And you know, I wanted her to do it. She wanted to do it. And we said, we're not going to just do one yoke and that's it. We're going to do 3 possibilities in our one yoke. And so we said, all right, what would they be? I says, one has to be color work.
Yeah.
Color work's definitely been having a moment in the knitting world for a while.
Yep.
And let's do one textured yoke and one lace yoke. So Becky, tell us how you ended up with these 3. What?
Set about the challenge. Yeah, so that was the challenge, that we needed to have, you know, 3 distinct fabric constructions: the lace, the color work, and the texture. But you know, they are all in the one pattern. So how do I make them all harmoniously tie together and have one look? One look, one yoke. So yeah, from the onset of the one series, I always wanted to do color work, always. And then we got to the point, and you know, it needed, the yoke was the perfect construction for that. And what I was drawn to create my cohesive look was like diamonds and chevrons. I felt that reminded me of the fells and peaks of the Fibre Co's home landscape, which you can see in the photography imagery, and that those shapes could be really easily, you know, translated within each construction. Diamonds, chevrons, you can do that in your color work and in your lace and your texture. So in the color work version, you know, those shapes are scattered throughout, but the big striking one is at the of the yoke, with the really large one and the lighter colorway. And what else was I going to mention about that? Yes, just so it's the chevrons on that part. And we went for our main photograph sample. We did the darker base with little lighter accent colors, and then we got another sample made with the opposite way around. And I had the idea that we should do like the circular yoke image, because I just love when yokes are circles when they can be photographed. That I think it looks so beautiful, and you can see in one glance before it's, you know, separated to a front and a back. You can just see it all, and it was so lovely to get the photography of the 2 of them together like that. I love it. And a note that I just wanted to point out was the neckline. It does look small when it is displayed in a circle like that, but we have steamed it to sit like perfect as a perfect circle. We've eased the neckline in and steamed it so that, you know, it is as small as that, but you can see in the little highlight bubble on the left when the cream version is knitted further, when the short rows are added and when the sleeves are added and it's on the hanger, the neckline has opened up more.
Yeah, it goes, if the shoulders and the sleeves give it that weight to come down. One thing I haven't said yet is what yarn this is. It's in our Lore yarns. Lore is 100% lamb's wool. And one of the reasons we were excited to do, because we have lots of other yarns we could have done the one yoke in, but one of the reasons we thought it would be great to do it in Lore with is the fact that it comes in both 100-gram hanks and 25-gram hanks. So the color work, we knew we were going to do a color work. And with the, 25-gram balls and 100-gram hanks, we thought that's really great to be able to have the 25-gram balls. And, you know, a lot of times you have to buy that 100-gram hank just for that one color, and you don't use but a small part of it. So it's a really great yarn for color work because of the 25-gram balls. So that was the only thing I wanted to add to one yoke color work. So now off to one yoke texture.
Onto the texture one. So yes, just to bring back what I was saying about the diamonds and the chevrons, this one has like a knit purl, or no, it was a seed stitch, little central diamond motif, and then again at the bottom of the yoke, it's got like bow knot slip stitches that give that shape as well. And we worked this one in lighter shades just so that you could really see the subtle texture shining through.
Yeah, that's a good point. And going back to when our color selection up front is that we knew that they had to be shades that just would show it. Later on, we're going to see some new colors that are really deep and autumnal, some new that we'll walk through. And it's really difficult to show colors like that. And so although me personally, I like to wear deep colors, and I have a navy blue cardigan on the needles that I need to finish this year. But it would not be good for photography at all, would it? So next up is the lace, Becky. What, where are those diamonds? There they are. You can see
There
them.
we are. That's a really good image of it. Yeah, so we can see the diamonds there. And this was by far the most technically challenging one for myself. If you some are just naturally gifted or designers for lace or color work person. I can plot graphs and knit color work, but lace for me, sometimes it takes me a long time to get my head around it. But I'm doing more lace as I'm expanding. So this one, yeah, it was a lot because each size had to be mapped out differently. And for the 9 graded sizes, because there's a different number of increases for each size. And the increases happening, you can see that the diamonds are almost like in a 3. There's one round the neckline, and then there's another one, and there's another one. So the increases are happening before the diamonds. So it's changing all your stitches. So it had to really be thought about the placement of the next diamond that was to come so that the alignment was nice. So me and our wonderful tech editor had to map out and make sure that the alignment would sit nicely over all sizes. So and I love how it's turned out. I love how they shift ever so slightly, and they do look like little mountain peaks, I think.
Yeah, they definitely do. And, it was worth that effort. It was definitely worth the effort. So we have this little kind of final look here in a couple of images, just to see those yolks again. And just as a reminder, they're in our lure yarn. And we did say early as we started the One Yoke that we wanted to end up by telling you a little bit more about the One series. So we have a series of them to show you right here. We won't take too much time with it, but just the very first one we did was on the left here of your screen, the One Sweater. That was in our Cumbria yarn. And then we said, oh, well, we have some lovely DK weight yarns as well. So the next season we did a One Sweater DK, and we had samples knit in all of our DK weight yarns. The one shown here is Luma, but we also have samples in Acadia and Aaron Moore Light, and there's one more that I'm forgetting. What's our other? Oh, Lore. We did one in Lore as well, because Lore is a DK weight.
Yep.
The next one here is the One Sweater Texture. We went back to Cumbria, the worsted weight. And it's, I mean, the differences between the One Sweater Texture and the One Sweater, they're both raglans, aren't they? And
yes.
Slightly different neck. It's the double
It's got the double rib, yes.
double rib on the One Sweater Texture. One thing I haven't said yet is One Sweater has been graded for 15 sizes, and the adult sizes come in 2 lengths because they are meant to be gender neutral. And so I would say the One Sweater DK, One Sweater Texture are certainly great sweaters for both male and female bodies. We then had the One Sock, and the One Sock came out when we launched our sock yarn called Amble. And that has been graded for 13 sizes as well. And then the One Cardigan came out, and our 4 DK weight yarns. This one here, the red one, is shown in Lore. And then we did a V-neck, and we launched our brush yarn about that time, and we decided to do holding it double with some other yarns. So the one that you see here is a combination of Zero and Meadow held together, knitting throughout. But Becky and I have been talking about doing this one with possibly Make Aaron, did we say, Becky? Or yeah, or we might do it in a couple of ways, because we like the idea of having a V-neck in the line. And that's one of the best things about these one series, is that there's so many different jumping off points to them, such that yeah, and when we got to this season, we said, planning for this season, we said, it's time for a yoke. And what do you know, so that's what we did. But anyway, we're really excited, and we hope you are too. We hope this has been inspirational to you. And I've seen a few comments in here, oh, I might have to start color work knitting. We think you should, because we've written this to really help you. It's a real easy pattern to get through if you've never done color work before, or if you've only done it minimally. And if you buy the One Yoke pattern, you will get 50% off on any other pattern in our one series. And you can find them at this link on our website, thefibreco.com/pages/one-series. You can see all the one series patterns there, and you'll get 50% off a pattern in the one series if you buy the One Yoke pattern. So, and the code is one series BOGO, all caps, and then the numbers 5 and 0. So that's one series BOGO. I'll just stay here for a moment before I go to the next slide, just to make sure. This won't work on Ravelry. A couple of people have asked. This is just for our website, and it is exclusive to webinar attendees. So by you coming and spending this hour with us, this is our gift to you. And really, when you, the 15 sizes aspect of not all of the sweaters, but certainly three of them. I think 3. Did the V-neck have 15, Becky?
Yes.
The V-neck had 15. So 4 have 15 sizes. So you know, these are patterns that, you know, you can have and do something with for many years, and we plan to iterate on them. So stay tuned for more to come. So if you've all got that now, one series BOGO 50 or one series BOGO 50. And yeah, this is it. These are all the patterns. They're all available on our website. They are also available on Ravelry for purchase, but the offer for the one series, the One Yoke and one series, is only available on our website. Now, we still have some time left, which is great, because I wanted to talk about some new shades. And this season we had new colors in our Acadia yarn. Acadia is a blend of wool, merino wool, a very fine merino wool, and silk noil and alpaca, baby alpaca. And this year we've added 6 colors for autumn. Last spring we added 5 colors. Now that's a really unusual thing for us to bring out 11 colors in a yarn line, but we hadn't had new colors in this line for a while. And it's probably one of our most popular yarns in terms of its longevity and you know, how long it's been around. And it's a great weight. It's a DK weight. It's perfect for a lot of things. And we thought it was time to add some colors. But just looking at your screen here, you can see how difficult it is to really tell, you know, too much about the colors on your screen. It is on our website. It's a little bit easier because you can, you know, expand them and magnify them. But I did thought I would just take a minute, if you don't mind. I'll stop sharing my screen and move on to a desktop camera where I can show you these colors. Yeah, here they are. Can you see them, Becky?
Yes, I can see them.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. All right. Oops. Got to do things backwards. There we go. Yeah, so here are the new colors, starting with the one on the left of that was previously on your screen on the left. This shade here is called Tide Pool. And because it's a blend of silk noil, these little bumpy bits that you can see in here, what happens, because these are hand-dyed colors, they're dyed in open kettles, is that when you put the hanks into the dye bath, the silk will, and because the silk is loosely spun, it's not, you know, combed and really twisted into the yarn, and it's not controlled for temperature so carefully, the silk will often grab various bits of color from the dye bath quicker than the wool and the alpaca will. So that's why you'll get it standing out in different colors. Now there's some other colors where you don't see it that much, like in this color here that's more of a maroon color. In fact, it's called marooned. And then this shade here is a combination of, well, 3 different colors in the dye bath, and it comes out in a quite a variegated look, and that's the shade called Urchin. And this green here, you can see that the silk here is a little bit lighter in color than on the wool and the alpaca. And then this shade here is called Beaver. And for the longest time, we didn't really have a rusty color in this line. And so it was time to add one. And then Sea Star this is a dye formula that we use in our Meadow yarn. And so we thought we would try it in our Acadia line too, because it's really a popular color in our Meadow line. And one of the things, in fact, that's often how we will work through color development, is like, oh, we have that fantastic color in this other line. Why don't we bring it into this one? So the palette we were starting with, you can see here some different colors. This is actually, oh, that's too bright, isn't it? This color here, Driftwood, is the color that it's a natural color. It's like a brown gray, and a lot of the colors are dyed on top of that in the range. And so, yeah, it's really therapeutic to hold these colors. I love it. And so I'll go ahead and share my screen again now. Hopefully it shows at the right size. Can you see that? Is that showing all right?
Yeah, I can see it, but your camera still shows the yarn one.
Oh, does it?
Just
Oh,
your
I've got
camera on the right.
well, I've got to change my camera. That's 2 things I have to do.
You can see your lovely face talking to us again.
Yes. So, yes, the yarn is not speaking to you. Well, it might be. Okay. All right. So here we go. And so those are the 6 colors we just looked at. And I thought I'd just give you a quick look at the 5 we brought out for spring, so you can see, woo, what a difference, right? So we had a need for some lighter, not necessarily too bright, but just lighter, some saturated pastels. And so these are the 5 we added last spring, and with the 6 that we just added. And oh, we have 2 minutes left, and I can see, oh, I think there's 2 questions. So this is perfect timing. Oh, there might be some more. Let's see what's here. There's 6 questions. Good. Okay. So is there a software program you use during the designing stage? Becky, what do we use?
So I might use Illustrator if we're going to do like a CAD, like a flat little CAD swatch of the sweater or the scarf. But you don't have to, you can hand draw. And might use Illustrator or Photoshop, as I said, for doing them cutting up stripes. But again, you could just draw them out with felt tip pens if you've got, or if you've got graph paper, you could use that. I also use Stitch Mastery as well for plotting color work, or again for stripes. When you can translate that into, your patterns, your stitch chart. But again, you could get graph paper and you could just draw it out. So you've got lots of options there if you're a software computer person, or if you prefer to do it by hand.
Yeah, that's we have a lot of talent around here with people, between Becky and Natasha, who's our graphic designer. You guys can kind of make magic happen with I don't have those skills myself, but it's great to see that others do. And the next question is, what your Cumbria is worsted weight. How does it differ from the Aran weight? Cumbria is we say it's between 18 and 20 stitches over in stocking stitch, over 4 inches. And make Aran would be more like 16 to 18. Over 4 inches, something like that. That would be the tension difference anyway. In terms of the fiber difference, well, you've got alpaca in make Aran. You don't have alpaca in Cumbria. But I would say they both have equally good stitch definition. The alpaca will give a little bit more drape in Amé Garam, but because it has Peruvian wool in it, the Highland wool, which is quite a bouncy wool, it's not droopy drapey kind of thing. It's a great sweater. And I think you could see that in the vest. What level of knitter for the One Yoke patterns? Becky, how did we grade those? Did we say?
I have intermediate graded for the One Yoke, but it's not just charted, it's full written instructions, even for the colour work, row by row, written instructions and charted, so you can use either or. And there is lots of tutorials in there, links to our YouTube channel for tutorials and written information on special techniques as well, like the cast on or the bind off is there. So hopefully there's enough information to talk you through it.
And if you get stuck, just, give us a shout. We have an email address, patternsupport@thefibreco.com, and we're very willing to help you wherever you get stuck. So, what is the weight and yardage of Acadia? Is a DK weight yarn. There's 145 yards on a 50-gram skein. I think that's about 133 meters. What's the tension on that? Is it 20? I think we give a range 21 to 23 stitches over 4 inches. What is the name of the new green color? Is called Hemlock. And is there a deadline for the 50th off? Judith, yes, thank you, Judith, for reminding me. There is through the end of this month. It's live until the September 30th, so it gives you some time. And I should have mentioned on that One Yoke BOGO 50, if you bought the One Yoke kit, it includes the pattern, so you would also be able to then get a 50% off on one of the other patterns. So let's see. Let's see any more. Oh, I think we've answered all the questions. I'm just looking in chat here and seeing if there's anything that's come up recently that I could grab. Gorgeous new collection, ladies. Well done. Thank you, Lizzie. Enjoyed the presentation. Need to leave. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining, everyone. We really appreciate it. And you're welcome for the BOGO offer. We are going to have some more pattern offers this season, right? We have one scheduled for every month. So this was the first one. And then in October and November and December and January, we will have pattern offers every month. So please do read your, or at least read the subject line of the emails that we send out, because we'll be enticing you with more pattern offers during the season. And they will be current patterns too. So just saying.
Keep an eye out.
Yeah. Well, Becky, thanks for coming on
you.
again, and thanks for all of your hard work over the years, and in particular this last year to bring this to fruition. It's
Oh,
all
you're so
great
welcome.
at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so nice. It's lovely to everybody, see all the love, hear everybody's feedback, thoughts. It's nice. It's so great
Yeah,
seeing
it
it come
really is.
together. So
It really is.
thank you for having me.
We don't get in front of folks that often, do we? And so with this, that's why we like doing the webinars and connecting this way. Of course, there's other digital ways to connect, but this has been almost real in that we can see one another. And thank you for coming, and have a wonderful sweater season ahead.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.